Did you know that people with chronic pain are 4 times more likely to suffer from depression? And those with depression feel pain more intensely than people without depression, even when they've experienced the same injury. Brain scans show that pain processing regions of your brain, like the insula, the amygdala, and the anterior cingulate cortex, or the ACC, light up excessively when you're depressed. This can create a pain-depression cycle that can feel impossible to break. But today, we are going to break that down. I'm Dr. Lee, and I'll be explaining why this happens, the medical science behind it, and at the end of this video, I'll give you 3 evidence-based tools you likely haven't been told about. No fluff, no generic advice. So let's take a closer look at how your pain pathway actually works. Think of your pain pathway as the wiring system between your body and your brain. When you stub your toe, for example, specialized nerve cells called nociceptors send danger signals through your spinal cord up to your brain. This process is similar to how a fire alarm system works. The nociceptors are the smoke detectors, your spinal cord is the wiring, and your brain acts like the fire station, deciding how serious the alarm is and how it should respond. Now that you understand how your pain pathway is designed to work, let's look at what happens when that system malfunctions. If something goes wrong during this healing phase of an injury, your pain pathway can shift from interpreting the original injury as acute pain to interpreting any continued signal from that area as chronic pain. Think of it like this. The injury creates a temporary detour, rerouting pain signals to alert your brain while your body heals. But that detour was never meant to be permanent. The problem is that over time, your brain can start laying down pavement, adding sidewalks, and turning that temporary route into a well-traveled road. That's when temporary or acute pain becomes chronic. And that's pain is no longer in response to an injury, but has become the new norm. This process of reinforcing those detour routes is called neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to rewire itself. When this rewiring happens in a maladaptive way, it's called central sensitization, which is basically the creation of a hypersensitive pain system. Think of it like a car alarm that goes off every time the wind blows. Normal sensations like light touch, mild pressure, or even emotional stress can be misread as pain. To understand this even further, think of your brain like a traffic control system made up of 3 key regions that I mentioned earlier: the insula, the amygdala, and the anterior cingulate cortex. The insula is like your internal sensor hub. It helps monitor your body's internal state. It monitors things like pain, heart rate, breathing, muscle tension. In chronic pain, this becomes overly reactive, constantly tripping the alarm even when there's no actual problem. The amygdala is your emotional traffic light. It decides when to flash red, especially in response to fear or pain. But when it's triggered too often, it can start flashing red for everything, even harmless signals. And your anterior cingulate cortex acts like the traffic controller. It tries to manage all of this input and coordinate your response, but when it's overwhelmed, it can't keep things running smoothly, leading to poor focus, impaired decision-making, and emotional overload. Over time, this entire system gets stuck in a feedback loop of false alarms, red lights, and mismanaged traffic. And just like a detour that becomes a permanent road, this rewired loop doesn't just lead to chronic pain, but it can also lay the groundwork for depression. When your brain is constantly reacting to false alarms, emotional regulation breaks down, neurotransmitters get depleted, and you can start to feel stuck and overwhelmed, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. That's how the pain-depression cycle becomes hardwired into your brain. If you've ever experienced frustration with getting help for your chronic pain, know that you are not alone. I know many patients, friends and family included, who have shared how frustrating it feels to constantly be at the mercy of their healthcare provider when asking for pain relief. Even when it comes to getting relief for something as common as migraine management, it can feel like an uphill battle. But there's something that no one wants to tell you. The system isn't just broken, it's very politically driven. We've all seen how the pain management pendulum has swung hard in both directions. In the early 2000s, Big Pharma aggressively pushed OxyContin, convincing doctors it wasn't addictive and promoting it for everything from back pain to dental pain. Then came the backlash. The regulators slammed on the brakes and prescriptions were cut overnight, and patients, left with no support, turned to the streets. But that shift wasn't rooted in best practices or centered in patient care. It was driven by pharmaceutical lobbying, liability fears, and reactionary policy. And now, well, both providers and patients are stuck in the middle. Doctors are expected to manage complex pain patients with limited time, constant oversight, and very few tools. Appointments feel rushed, complex cases get avoided, and referrals, if they happen, are often fragmented. Maybe you get a referral to physical therapy, rarely to mental health, and almost never to address the spiritual burdens that come with chronic pain and depression. This kind of disjointed care often leaves you feeling unseen and unheard, and too often feeling like you are the problem. But you're not. The system is fractured, and it's time that we start calling a spade a spade. So what can you do right now to start changing this? Here are 3 evidence-based tools that you may not have heard about that you can start using today. Number 1, somatic tracking to rewire pain response. Avoiding movements actually makes pain worse, but somatic tracking teaches your brain to observe pain without jumping into panic mode. Think of it like retraining your brain's traffic system. Instead of slamming on the brakes every time a warning light flashes, it learns to slow down, reassess, and decide if it's truly an emergency or just a false alarm. In a 2022 study published in JAMA Psychiatry, 66% of chronic back pain patients using pain reprocessing therapy reported being pain-free after just 4 weeks. That's because they were able to retrain their brain's response to pain, redirecting traffic off the old, overreactive route onto a calmer, safer path. Number 2, spirit-based reflection to reduce pain perception. In a study published in the journal Behavioral Medicine, 35% of participants who engaged in spiritual reflection and prayer reported experiencing lower perceived pain even when their physical condition didn't change. You can start with just 5 minutes a day. Ask, what is this pain trying to tell me? Pray, reflect, and write it down. You're not just calming the mind in that moment, but you're actually activating your sense of purpose, hope, and resilience. And number 3, reduce inflammation through diet. Chronic pain is often fueled by silent inflammation, which is driven by the hidden sugars and processed foods that we eat. For now, focus on increasing omega-3s, leafy greens, adding turmeric, and reducing sugar and processed foods. These changes help modulate immune responses and lower inflammatory cytokines that actually worsen pain. The cycle of pain and depression is real, but it's not permanent. You do not have to stay stuck in it. You have the power to change your relationship with chronic pain and depression. You are not at the mercy of a broken system that labels, stereotypes, or dismisses your experience. If this video helped you see things differently, share it with somebody else who might be struggling. And stick around because there's more videos coming up that will empower you to manage chronic conditions naturally, teach you how to advocate for yourself with confidence, and navigate a healthcare system that doesn't always get it right. So don't forget, you have the power to flip the script from powerless patient to informed advocate. I'll see you in the next video.